listen to me carefully, because this might be the moment everything changes for you. You talk too much about your plans. You announce your dreams before they're even built. You tell people what you're about to do, how you're about to level up, how you're about to change your life, and then you wonder why nothing moves. Let me tell you something real. Noise does not build success. Silence does. The moment you decide to focus on yourself and stay silent, you step into a different league. Because now, you're not performing, you're producing. See, everybody wants attention, but very few people want discipline. Silence builds success, not noise, and that's something most people don't understand until it's too late. We live in a world where everybody feels the need to announce everything. The moment they get an idea, they run to tell 10 people. The moment they set a goal, they post it, talk about it, and look for reactions. But here's the truth. Talking about success is not the same as building it. In fact, the more you talk, the less you tend to do. Every time you speak your plans out loud, you trick your mind into feeling like you've already made progress. You get a small sense of satisfaction just from saying it, and that feeling slowly replaces the hunger you actually need to execute. Real success doesn't come from what you say. It comes from what you do consistently, quietly, and relentlessly. While others are busy making noise, chasing attention, and trying to look successful, there's a different kind of person who chooses silence. That person understands that energy is limited. Instead of wasting it on conversations, explanations, and opinions, they invest it into action. They wake up early, they put in the work, they stay disciplined even when it's boring, and they don't feel the need to tell anyone about it. That's where the real power lies. When you move in silence, something shifts inside you. You become more focused because there are fewer distractions. You stop caring about who believes in you and who doesn't because you're not seeking their approval anymore. You're building something for yourself, not for an audience. And that changes everything. Your mindset sharpens, your habits strengthen, and your results start to grow in ways that words never could. Noise attracts attention, but silence attracts results. Think about it. People who talk all the time are often trying to prove something. They're trying to convince others, and sometimes even themselves, that they're on the right path. But those who are truly focused don't need to prove anything. They understand that success is not a performance, it's a process. It's built in the early mornings when nobody is watching, in the late nights when nobody is clapping, and in the moments when it would be easier to quit, but you choose to keep going. There's also another side to silence that people overlook. It protects your vision. Not everyone deserves access to your goals. Not everyone will understand your journey. Some people will doubt you, some will discourage you, and some will project their own fears onto you. When you talk too much, you open the door to all that negativity. But when you stay silent, you protect your mindset. You give your dreams space to grow without interference. Focus over validation, that's a mindset shift that can completely change your life if you truly understand it. Most people are not lacking talent, opportunity, or even ideas. What they're lacking is direction. They are constantly looking around, checking who's watching, who's approving, who's clapping. They measure their progress based on reactions instead of results. And that right there is the trap. Because the moment you start depending on validation, you lose control over your own journey. Now your motivation is no longer internal, it's tied to other people's opinions, and those opinions change every single day. You have to understand something powerful. People will praise you one moment and doubt you the next. If you build your confidence on that, you'll be unstable forever. One compliment will make you feel unstoppable, and one criticism will make you question everything. That's not strength, that's dependency. Real strength comes when you decide that your vision matters more than anyone else's approval. When you stop asking, do they believe in me? And start asking, am I doing the work? Focus requires discipline, and discipline is often invisible. It doesn't get likes, it doesn't get applause, and most of the time, it doesn't even get noticed. But it's the foundation of everything meaningful. When you choose focus over validation, you accept that your journey might look quiet, even lonely at times. You accept that nobody might celebrate you in the beginning. And instead of letting that discourage you, you use it as fuel. Because now you're not performing for an audience, you're building for a purpose. The problem with chasing validation is that it keeps you stuck in a cycle of distraction. You start doing things not because they move you forward, but because they make you look good. You choose what's visible over what's valuable. You prioritize attention over growth. And in the process, you lose time that you could have spent improving your skills, strengthening your mindset, and getting closer to your goals. Focus breaks that cycle. It pulls you back into what truly matters. When you are focused, you become selective. You don't waste energy trying to impress people who aren't contributing to your growth. You don't get pulled into unnecessary conversations or comparisons. You understand that every minute counts, and you treat your time like the asset it is. That level of awareness creates a different kind of confidence, one that doesn't need to be seen to be felt. It's quiet, but it's unshakable. And here's the truth that many people avoid: the road to success is not always exciting. There will be days when nothing seems to be happening. Days when your progress feels slow, when your efforts go unnoticed, when it would be easier to quit or seek comfort in approval. But those are the moments that define you. Because when you keep going without validation, when you stay committed without recognition, you are building something deeper than success. You are building character. Disappear to level up. That idea sounds uncomfortable to a lot of people because it goes against everything the world is teaching you right now. You're told to stay visible, stay active, stay in front of people, keep posting, keep talking, keep showing what you're doing. It feels like if you're not being seen, you're being left behind. But the truth is, constant visibility can become a distraction. It can trap you in a cycle where you're more focused on being noticed than actually improving. And that's why so many people stay stuck at the same level. They never give themselves the space to grow in private. Disappearing doesn't mean you're quitting. It doesn't mean you're falling off. It means you're choosing to step away from the noise so you can focus on becoming better. It means you're willing to sacrifice temporary attention for long-term transformation. While others are busy showing what they have, you're working on who you are. And that's a powerful difference. Because success isn't built in public, it's revealed in public. The real work always happens behind the scenes. When you disappear, you remove pressure. You're no longer trying to meet expectations or impress anyone. You're no longer worried about how things look. You're focused on how things are actually improving. That freedom allows you to take risks, to fail to learn, and to grow without fear of judgment. You can make mistakes without announcing them. You can rebuild yourself without explaining it to the world. And in that quiet space, you develop skills and strength that most people never reach because they're too busy performing. There's also a mental shift that happens when you choose to disappear. You start to rely on yourself more. You stop looking for motivation from outside sources and begin to build it internally. You create routines that don't depend on anyone else's approval. You hold yourself accountable, even when nobody is watching. That's where real discipline is formed. Not when it's easy, not when it's visible, but when it's quiet and consistent. That kind of discipline changes everything. A lot of people fear being forgotten. They think if they step back, people will move on, opportunities will pass, and they'll lose relevance. But what they don't realize is that staying the same is the real risk. If you never take time to improve, you'll always be exactly where you are. Disappearing is not about losing your place. It's about upgrading yourself so that when you return, you're operating at a completely different level. And when that happens, people notice without you having to say a word. While you're in that phase, it won't always feel exciting. There will be moments of doubt, moments where you question if it's working, moments where you feel like you're missing out. But that's part of the process. Growth is not always visible in the beginning. It's happening internally, slowly, quietly, building a foundation that will support everything you achieve later. And the longer you stay committed to that process, the stronger that foundation becomes. When you finally come back, when your skills are sharper, your mindset is stronger, and your results are undeniable, you won't need to explain where you've been. People will see the difference. They'll feel the shift in your energy, your confidence, your presence. And suddenly, the same silence that once made you invisible will become the reason your success stands out. So don't be afraid to step away. Don't be afraid to go quiet for a while, because sometimes the most powerful move you can make is to disappear, focus on yourself, and come back as someone they never saw coming. Protect your energy, because whether you realize it or not, your energy is your most valuable asset. It's more important than your time, more important than your talent, because without the right energy, you won't use either of those things the way you should. And the problem is, most people are giving their energy away without even noticing it. Every unnecessary conversation, every argument, every moment spent explaining yourself to people who don't understand you, it all drains you. Little by little, it pulls you away from your purpose. You have to start seeing your energy like a resource that needs to be guarded. Not everyone deserves access to you. Not every opinion deserves a response. Not every situation deserves your attention. But when you don't set boundaries, you end up reacting to everything. You get pulled into drama that has nothing to do with your growth. You waste time trying to prove your point, trying to defend your choices, trying to make people see your vision. And while you're doing all that, you're losing focus on what actually matters. Talking too much is one of the fastest ways to drain your energy. When you constantly explain your plans, your moves, your intentions, you're not just using your words, you're using your mental strength. You're giving pieces of your focus away. And the more you talk, the less energy you have left to execute. That's why people who are always speaking about what they're going to do often struggle to actually do it. Their energy is scattered. It's everywhere except where it needs to be. Protecting your energy means learning when to stay silent. It means understanding that you don't have to respond to everything that comes your way. Sometimes people will question you, doubt you, even challenge you, but not every situation deserves your reaction. In fact, your silence can be more powerful than any response you could give. Because when you don't engage, you stay in control. You keep your focus intact. You don't allow outside noise to disrupt your inner direction. There's also a deeper level to this. Protecting your energy means being selective about the people you keep around you. Some people bring motivation, clarity, and support. Others bring negativity, distraction, and doubt. If you're constantly surrounded by people who drain you, it doesn't matter how strong you are, you will feel it. Their mindset will affect yours. Their habits will influence yours. And over time, that will slow you down. You have to be honest about who adds value to your life and who takes it away. When you start protecting your energy, you begin to notice a shift. You feel more focused, more calm, more in control. You're no longer overwhelmed by every little thing because you've chosen what deserves your attention. You stop reacting and start acting with purpose. And that clarity allows you to move faster and smarter toward your goals. The truth is, you don't need to do more, you need to waste less. Less time on distractions, less energy on unnecessary conversations, less attention on things that don't move you forward. When you cut those things out, you create space for what truly matters. Your work improves, your mindset strengthens, and your progress becomes more consistent. Move in silence, stay unpredictable. That's not just a strategy, it's a mindset that separates those who talk about success from those who actually achieve it. Most people move in a way that's easy to read. They announce their next step, they show their progress too early, they let everyone know what they're planning. And while that might feel good in the moment, it makes them predictable. It gives others the chance to doubt them, question them, or even interfere with their path. When everything about your life is exposed, you lose a level of control that's critical for growth. There's power in being unpredictable. When people don't know your next move, they can't prepare for it. They can't place limits on you because they don't fully understand what you're building. And that uncertainty creates an advantage. You're not moving based on reactions or expectations. You're moving based on your own vision. You're free to adjust, to improve, to pivot without outside pressure. That freedom is where real progress happens. Moving in silence doesn't mean you're hiding out of fear. It means you're protecting your process. You understand that not every step needs to be shared. Not every win needs to be posted. Not every struggle needs to be explained. You keep certain things to yourself because you know they're still growing. Just like a seed doesn't get dug up every day to check if it's growing, your plans need time, patience, and protection. The moment you expose them too early, you risk slowing down that growth. Another thing about silence is that it sharpens your awareness. When you're not constantly talking, you start observing more. You notice patterns in people. You understand who supports you and who doesn't. You pick up on opportunities that others miss because they're too busy being heard instead of paying attention. Silence gives you information, and information gives you power. The more you see, the better you move. People often underestimate the impact of staying quiet. They think if they're not speaking up, they're falling behind. But the truth is, the loudest person in the room is rarely the most successful. The ones who are truly winning are usually the ones you don't hear much from. They're too focused on execution. They're too locked in on their goals. They don't have time to keep updating the world. They're busy building something real. When you move in silence, you also protect yourself from negativity. Not everyone wants to see you win, and not everyone will believe in your vision. Some people will project their fears onto you. Some will try to discourage you, and some will simply not understand what you're trying to do. When you keep your moves private, you limit the influence of those voices. You stay grounded in your own belief instead of being shaken by others' opinions. And then comes the moment that makes it all worth it, the reveal. When you've been working quietly, consistently, without distractions, your results start to show in a way that surprises people. They didn't see it coming. They didn't expect that level of growth. And that's the beauty of it. Your success speaks louder because it wasn't constantly announced. It hits differently because it's real, not just talked about. Let your results speak for you. That's the level most people never reach because it requires patience, discipline, and a quiet kind of confidence that doesn't need constant recognition. We live in a time where people feel pressure to constantly explain themselves, to show progress before it's real, to convince others that they're doing something meaningful. But the truth is, words can only go so far. You can talk about your goals all day. You can describe your vision in the most powerful way, but if there's no action behind it, eventually it all becomes noise. Results are different. Results don't need explanation. They don't argue, they don't convince, they simply prove. When you decide to let your results speak, you shift your focus completely. You stop worrying about how things look and start focusing on how things actually are. You stop chasing attention and start chasing improvement. That shift changes your priorities. Instead of spending time trying to be understood, you spend time getting better. Instead of explaining your next move, you execute it. And over time, that consistency builds something that no amount of talking ever could: credibility. Credibility is earned, not claimed. Anyone can say they're working hard. Anyone can claim they're focused or disciplined. But when your results start to show, when your growth becomes visible, when your progress becomes undeniable, that's when people begin to believe without you having to say a word. And the powerful part is, by the time they notice, you're already ahead. You didn't wait for validation. You didn't rely on opinions. You just kept working until the outcome spoke for itself. There's also a level of peace that comes with this mindset. When you're not constantly trying to explain yourself, you free your mind from unnecessary pressure. You don't feel the need to defend your choices or justify your path. You understand that not everyone will see your vision in the beginning, and that's okay. Because your responsibility is not to make people understand, it's to make your vision real. And once it becomes real, understanding follows naturally. A lot of people get stuck because they want recognition too early. They want to be acknowledged before they've truly built anything, and that desire can lead to shortcuts, distractions, and inconsistency. But when you commit to letting your results speak, you accept that recognition will come later. You're willing to put in the work without immediate rewards. You trust the process enough to stay consistent, even when nobody is watching. And that kind of patience is rare, but it's also what creates lasting success. When your results finally start showing, everything changes. The same people who doubted you become curious. The same people who overlooked you start paying attention. Opportunities begin to appear, not because you asked for them, but because your work attracted them. And in that moment, you realize something important. You never needed to prove anything through words. The work did it for you. At the end of the day, everything comes down to one simple decision. Are you going to keep talking, or are you going to start building? Success doesn't come from noise, attention, or validation. It comes from focus, discipline, and the ability to stay silent while you work on yourself. When you stop explaining your plans and start executing them, your entire life begins to shift. You protect your energy, you move with purpose, and you give yourself the space to grow without distraction. You learn to trust your journey even when nobody else sees it yet. And that's where real transformation happens. Not in public, not in applause, but in those quiet moments where you choose progress over attention. So stay focused, stay silent, and keep working. Because in the end, it won't be your words that define you. It will be your results that speak louder than anything you could ever say.